photo bashing, so you want to add a little bit more detail. So maybe there might be moss that might be growing on the wall here or on the other side of the wall, and we want to add a little bit more texture, more control onto your photo bashed image. So the first thing I'll do, I'll probably just clean up this scene so far. So I don't need that because we'll know. Well, I'll just put that as a top, and I'll just name that light direction. Um, and that's my bridge. So I'll shift select all of these tabs and just put that into one group. Rename that and say, I'll just name that castle group. Alright, so I'm just cleaning up my workflow. That looks a bit decent. I don't need this layer here so far, so I'll just hide that. Go back onto Google, make sure that you have some good strong reference material. So I'll go back to Google, find like some foliage or some grass. So I like this one. This looks slightly interesting. So spend some time making sure you have some solid reference images before you even start. And so I'll go back onto Photoshop, Control V, and so for this technique we're gonna start adding this foliage by using like a clown stamp. So I have my reference image here, so my foliage, I just put FREF, and I want to create a new layer. So what can I name that? I'll just name that paint. Full. Alright. So you guys will name that more conveniently. I just don't want this video to be too long, so I'm not gonna go in on that. Alright, so for this one, make sure you do have a brush which is quite dynamic, which is quite expressive. So we want to go onto this icon down here. It looks like it's stamped, so it's called clone stamp. S for short, so shortcut key is S. Make this clone stamp a little bit bigger. Come up to this tab down here. I want to make sure my brush is a decent brush. I'll probably add a bit of scatter to it. Alright. So now I want to make sure that the clone stamp is in a decent size, because what we're going to do is just literally pick up a pattern and we're going to paint it in. Pick up another pattern and we're going to paint that in. So the way that we're going to pick up a pattern, we're going to hold Alt and you'll have this crosshair. That's just selecting a portion of this texture. And so we'll probably go for a darker portion down there, probably around the middle. I'll click on it. So now this has picked up this particular texture here. So if I go to the left, you should see that it should be imported. Alright, now before you even do that, make sure, I made a mistake. I actually wasn't even in the layer. So make sure the texture layer is activated. I'll do it again. So Alt, pick up a texture. So yeah, now the texture has been saved. Alright. So it looks like the texture, it's lagging like that because that is it could be a big file. Sorry, so I'll just quickly hide that layer, go on to my Paint 2. And now it's saved a copy of the texture that I've just painted. So I'll quickly add in my foliage. Alright. I'm going to pick up another section, make sure I'm on the layer, change, go back into my paint layer, and just quickly, I'm literally just tapping on the mouse key as I'm adding some of this texture onto it. So usually there might be even a window somewhere there, but this is a very big window, so I'm going to let you guys make sure that you guys are more accurate in terms of getting the proportions of this correct. Alright, but you can already see that with this just the small technique, your image is coming along a little bit better. Alright, I'll leave that as that. I'll click, select that, make sure it's fine. And the first thing I want to do is to adjust my 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 hue and my saturation, or even my levels, just to make sure that the texture actually matches the image. So I'll just drop down the saturation a little bit and make that a little bit gray. I'll go on to my level so I can add a little bit of white back in. So add a little bit of white, maybe make that a little bit darker. Take out the gray. Alright, so you guys will spend some time making sure you can find the right consistency of image there. Okay, so I'll just leave that for now. It is very detailed at this point. Usually you wouldn't see so much detail because it is far away. So for both images, I'll probably just go into my filter, go onto blur, click on Gaussian blur, and you want to blur that image just a little bit. So I'll probably change that to like 0.5 or 0.05. 0.5. Alright, I'll just leave that as that. 0.5 gives it a little bit of a blur. And now I just want to add a drop down shadow, just a little drop down shadow there, so it looks like it's actually part of this building. What I could have done is warp this building so it looks like it's convex. So convex is when something is beveled outwards. Concave is when it's beveled inwards. So I would have made it convex so it actually looks like it's cylinder, like a nice cylinder of this particular castle. But we'll leave that be. On your textured layer, we're gonna make sure it's selected. We're gonna right click and we want to go to this blending option. As soon as you click on blending option, you have this tab right at the bottom. It says drop down shadow. Click down the drop down shadow. Then I'll select it. On the angle, I want to make sure the angle is probably facing down a little bit. So I'll probably keep it at like 45 degrees. Make sure the spread is a little bit further out. Actually, no, I'll change the angle so it's actually towards the wall. Now I'll just quickly change the size. So I just want to make it probably like 2. Okay, 2 is a bit too small. So maybe 5. Yeah. So I'll keep it as 5. Make it less opaque. So I'll change the opacity a little bit. I can see the shadows. And I'll confirm that. Alright, so if I zoom out, you can start to see that it's coming along a little bit better now. Go back into our original layer, add. So now, as you add more, I'll probably need this to be on top. Yeah. So as you add more, that texture is not coming out well. So yeah, just leave that as that textured layer. Alright, so I'll just leave that as that for now. And what I'll probably do is add like texture so I can fill out the texture here and just make sure the texture is not overlapping for now. So I'll just let that be. We can easily fix it up, but the technique is more about using the clone stamp to add a little bit more texture onto your concept work. Overall, this grayscale image, if it had a little bit more color, it would be easier. Because right now the only solution to fix this up is just to take out all the saturation, make this gray, black and white. But obviously I just kept the color in there so you guys can have a better understanding of how to create the clone stamp. Alright, yeah, part 2 is done.